Well, good evening and welcome. Good to have you with us. For this special session, this is coming actually from the American Association of Independent Periodontists. And those of you who attended the Seattle Study Club symposium over the weekend, we'll give you a little bit of an introduction of the American Association of Independent Periodontists. That is an organization that's dedicated to helping maintain and propel the periodontal practice. But this is a special session for you, and we've got AAIP members on here already, and people who are also exploring the AAIP. So we have 3 different groups on, and we're really happy that you signed up. Of course, we're talking tonight about what your office manager can do to propel your practice. And that beautiful woman you're seeing on the right is Danyelle Joyner. Danielle was really responsible for doubling our practice. She was here for the transition. As a matter of fact, she made the transition from a referral practice, and we had a large referral practice, to an independent practice, and she supervised that through the entire time. So if there's anybody who would have perspective on what's happening today in perio and what we can do as periodontists to change our practices for the better and to provide more stability and certainly assure us that we have a good, positive, bright, profitable future, it is Danielle. And so when we were doing our seminar on Saturday, essentially I blurted out, Danielle, you mind doing a webinar on what the office manager can do? Because the office manager has made a big difference, and Danielle has made a big difference in propelling our practice forward. And of course, what could Danielle do? I was on stage, or I was in the front, and all she could do was say yes. So we put together this webinar really, really fast. In fact, Danielle's put this webinar together really fast. And I hope you'll get a lot out of it tonight. So with that, I introduce to you Danielle Joyner.
Good evening, doctors and office managers. We are very pleased and a bit impressed by the turnout that we had tonight on all those that had registered for this webinar. As Dr. Sheldon did promise at the symposium last week in the Amelia Islands, I'm going to spend a little time with you tonight to share what I did in Dr. Sheldon's practice to not only double the practice numbers, but to improve the organization, the flow, the structure, and the overall tone of the entire office. What I'm about to share with you will take enough off your plate, doctors, that you'll finally be able to come to work and do what it is that you enjoy producing and treatment planning, and shift all the other stuff, the negative stuff, the stuff that you just hate to deal with all through the day, and train someone else to effectively handle that. Yes, that's you, the office managers that are on here tonight, and I will show you exactly how to gain control of the practice and keep it where it needs to be with support from your doctor. So those of you that don't know me, let me first introduce myself and give you a little background on myself. My name, as Dr. Sheldon had introduced, is Danielle Joyner, and I am the office manager here with Dr. Sheldon. I first came to work for him back in 2003 as a surgical assistant. I didn't know anything about surgery. I was an orthodontic assistant, trained ortho assistant, and I did have a mad desire to become a surgical assistant. I was determined to prove myself. I was determined to do this. I kept myself very, very busy during this first year, nervously training alongside Dr. Sheldon, of which to train me firsthand. He trained me from scratch, we could say. I would say he taught me all I know. I spent my evenings studying instruments, pictures, procedures, anything to get me a step ahead for the next day. I would say my excitement of achievement definitely numbed the negatives that were happening in the office at this time. I avoided just about everything in the office, keeping myself busy doing my job, training, going home, studying. But the reality was the office was indeed unorganized chaos. The lead assistant at that time was moving out of state, and she was in quite of a hurry to get out, so the training was left solely to Dr. Sheldon to train me. There wasn't a training regimen present at the time. There were a few other staff members, one that I avoided because she was just so darn mean, and the simple walk past her desk would really result in tears on my entire drive home. She was just plain mean. There was another front desk that kept to herself. Hygiene kind of just kept to theirself. There was another assistant that I don't really even remember much about her. All I remember was every day there was something that she would do to throw a wrench in the day. And so that was it. It was just mostly Dr. Sheldon and I working throughout the day. There wasn't teamwork. There wasn't training. There wasn't really any meaningful systems or effective structure going on. I enjoyed working with Dr. Sheldon. He was always upbeat, very appreciative, always complimenting, happy. You could tell he loved what he did. Patients respected him, loved the way he treated them, and was always impressed by the results. At the end of my first year working here, I sadly had to leave. My family was moving out of town, so I had to give him my notice, and after a year of being here, I left. Fortunately, a year later, some great opportunities opened up for me, and my little family and I moved back to Melbourne. And on my drive back, the very first thing that I did was call Dr. Sheldon. For this entire year being gone, I missed my job. I missed what I did. I missed who I did it for, and I wanted more than anything to get back into the practice again. So I gave him a call on my way back, asked him if he had anything available, and of course, he welcomed me back, said, "Come on right in, we'll find something for you to do," and I was completely excited about that. It was a year later. I was confident this time coming back. I was, unlike the first time, which just being a trained ortho assistant didn't know much, but I knew this time coming in that I knew what to do. I knew I was a good assistant. I knew I could offer something to him after all he had done to train me. I was excited. Not only was I grateful for what he had done for me for the year prior as far as training me, but additionally grateful that he was welcoming me back into the practice at this time. As I walked back into the office the next day, I walked in to see it was all new staff. The ones that had been there prior were gone. I believe there were 2 front desks, there was 2 assistants, and when I walked in, Dr. Sheldon had introduced me like I was famous. I mean, nobody knew me at this time. I had never met anybody, and they were just all completely thrilled to meet me and see me. He had obviously talked to them about me before I even came in, but I knew that I had owed Dr. Sheldon quite a bit for what he had done, and I didn't want to let him down. So in that moment, I knew that I was going to do my part in the practice to kind of live up to what he had presented me to be. So as I'm coming into this practice that has all these established people, the new guy coming in, how did I take over? How did I walk into the practice as the new person and make changes and take control? Well, the first part, obviously, as we said, Dr. Sheldon had done for me. He made it known to the staff how he felt about me, the confidence and trust he had in me, and how well he thought of me for my dedication and hard work. And this gave the staff someone to look up to. He not only did this the first day I returned, but he did it just about every day after. His constant trust and belief in me made others want to listen, learn, and duplicate because it was very attractive for staff to see that someone could believe in him like this. So it made it all possible. Doctors, when you choose an office manager, whether you're hiring new or promoting within, you need to first form the relationship and the understanding of what it is that she'll be doing and back her up daily to allow your team to trust, believe, and respect. I'm going to give you, during this webinar, I'm going to give you 7 top things that I implemented right from the start to move the practice from being kind of stagnant in the way the staff was performing to getting up to where we really are now. So the 7 top things I did there, Dr. Sheldon's practice from doing this became more organized, more efficient, a much better flow, much more structured, and it resulted in more production. It resulted in a more successful practice. The first...
and I got to say, I was happier too. because I could pay attention to dentistry. I didn't have to play with all of the micromanaging, and I hate to micromanage anyway, but sometimes when you have the wrong staff, you have to be on top of them. When you really have somebody who puts things in place, essentially I could become the business owner and the doctor again. And when you do that and you concentrate all of your attention in that one area or those two areas, then the practice can go forward because all of the other structure is put in place. And I don't have to pay attention to the negative things that you and I just don't want to pay attention to. Pay attention to. Of course, I'm talking to you, doctors.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And like I said, let me just share with you just some things that I felt right off the bat were really important to first implement to get kind of the ball rolling on this. The first thing is the very first thing I did was, after working back in the practice for a few short months, I was able to form these great relationships with all the staff, which, of course, is the very first thing you have to do. You can't come in and start making rules and changing stuff without first forming those relationships. Very, very important. It was done first with the support of Dr. Sheldon, but also by hearing out the staff's needs and concerns and making sure that I presented those to the doctor. In that way, they were receiving help and they could see that I was there for them as well. The manager does essentially play both sides, the side of the doctor and the side of the staff, and they need to know that the office manager, that I am there for them. And I truly am. I can say I honestly am. I don't simply do everything that Dr. Sheldon tells me to do. I do help him see all sides, all views, and then come up with solutions. This allows me to make the best choice for patients, for the staff, the doctor, in every situation. What happened was, after the few short months that I was here, the doctor was going on vacation with his family, and he was going to be gone for a week. And when he was leaving, the staff, a lot of the staff wanted to stay working that week because they didn't want to take the time off. They wanted to work at the hours. So I was trying to figure out what we could do within that week to make a difference in the practice, to clean up a bit, organize some stuff, so when he came back, it was running a little bit differently. And the very first thing that I noticed was we had training manuals that had been started in the office, but they were completely out of date. It was a great concept that was put together, but no one had updated them in quite a long time. I knew this because they were given to me upon rehire, and there was not a single page that was correct. Looking at the manual, I spent the majority of my time correcting the manual because it just wasn't dated. The manual is huge. You'll see here on the screen there's two here. There's the front desk hat, which is the manual, the training manual, and then there's the assistant training one. Both of these, and I should have given you a side view of these, they're extremely thick. It's everything that we do in those areas, from opening up the doors to closing them at night. It's everything in there. So I knew that it would be a huge project for a single person to update these hats. So what I said was, those of you that want to stay on for that week, we're going to take the sections that you work in, that you do, and we're going to spend time to step-by-step organize these and update these and get them where they're actually effective working manuals. These you can use to train anyone new. We have that when a new staff comes on, we give them these hats, and what we have them do is they're put together with step-by-step instructions. So they take, let's say it says of a post-operative surgical check. Well, there's a page in there for that. They take the page out, they copy it on the copier, they take it with them when they seat the patient, and they use it as a check sheet for training. They know exactly what goes out. They know exactly what to do when the patient is seated, when the doctor comes in, how to discharge, everything from start to finish. And when they're training, I have them put those copies in my box, my communication box, and that way I can see that they have completed the procedure with their training procedure that day correctly. You can also use these to refer staff to when they have questions about how to do stuff, so it doesn't take up time for another staff member to explain or show. If someone has to fill in an area outside their normal duty, they can take this and they could do that. It prevents, like I said, staff members from asking other staff members how to do something. Just go get your hat, flip the page. It's very easy to find and do. Step-by-step details that anybody could do. It shows you, like I said, how to do anything in the office, and that way it's goes over not only, there's two different pages that go with each one. One is what goes with it, how to set it up, so 1 through 10 of what goes in the room on the table, and then the other one is actually how to perform it. So very, very easy to follow. So what I did was I had this completed before he came back. The staff worked very hard. It actually took us the full week to get this together. It was cleaned up, updated, and organized, and it made it extremely useful. And now we have a policy now where we update these once a year. In July, we take a few weeks off, and so during that time, most of the staff is here for at least one of those weeks, and we spend time to update these manuals every single year and date them that they have been updated. We use these all the time. We use these at least every day. Someone is using them for something. So like I said, they're very valuable for training, and they're very valuable to keep staff working efficiently within policy. We had pictures in ours. It does help, especially with setup of surgeries. Very useful. So you can make these with a simple binder, printing to make it very easy for your staff to do as well. Another thing that I did is developed a system, a communication system that definitely increases flow. It encourages your staff to complete their cycles of action, which mostly, that in simple cycles of action is like a circle. Without this communication system, without valuable communication systems in, you have people that are constantly starting and stopping and not completing cycles. And what does that do? It makes a lot of errors. It makes a lot of mistakes, and a lot of times those happen all in one single day, and it can make complete chaos. So what these communication centers that are systems that we have implemented do is it just made everything flow and be so much easier. I did actually a teleseminar on this last week. It is one of my favorite things to implement because it is so easy and it makes such a huge difference in the flow of the practice. You immediately see a different tone in your staff. The teamwork increases, efficiencies, and like I said, you just see people completing their cycles of action. So they go from one point to the very end and they get things done. What happens when there's a lot of verbal communication is that there's just simply a lot of noise. You have people that are disturbing, interrupting, breaking focuses, stopping the flow. You have somebody walking from one end of the practice to the other, and they have a lot on their mind. They have something that they're going to get, and when you have other staff, asking questions or asking for help, it just gets very chaotic. Same thing happens with doctors. Doctors walking from one room to the other. They're going to make a phone call or go grab something, and you have a staff member asking them a question. Again, stops his flow, and he forgets as well. So with this communication systems that we have in, it streamlines all this to make it so much more organized. The written communication, the station that you see on the screen here, it is made to encourage communication to be written instead of verbalized. The system works wonderfully and hands down way more effective than verbal. So of course there's verbal communication needed throughout the day, but there is so much that can wait an hour, a half hour, a day to get handled. It's a phone call. It's something that needs to be ordered. It's something that needs to be fixed. Something where you write it, you put it in that person's box. When they are able to get to it, they get to it, they answer it, and they put it back in the other person's box. The written communication has who it's to, the date, and the initials of who it's from, so that they can keep that communication going. And sometimes it's not just a simple returned once, maybe it goes back and forth a few times, but people are able to answer and solve that stuff on their own time when they are able to do it, not when they have other stuff on their mind. We just ask with this system that the boxes are checked throughout the day, So you put it in a high flow area, people can see it, and that all communication is acknowledged so people are not wondering if that note was ever given, if it was dropped, lost, or whatever it was. So you'll see that the boxes will stay, they may get a bit full during the day, but they are made to be emptied at the end of the day so that you go through all your communication and answer those questions for people. We also have what's called an organizational board. This is placed above the communication center simply to show everybody who is in charge of what. We have a rule here where we don't have multiple people in charge of one area. So it's not the 3 assistants all work together to stock a room. You have one assistant in charge of stocking all the rooms, and it doesn't mean that that assistant does that. It just means that she's in charge of making sure that it happens. So with this, if there's been a problem with the rooms not getting stocked, they would write a note to that person in charge of that area and say, hey, listen, you know, this is like 3 days in a row, we're coming in, the rooms are not being stocked. And so it's up to that staff member to find out what's going on, what's out, and correct it, not go back and stock all the rooms. So this goes above the communication center. The person has a problem, they go to the communication center, they see who's in charge of the area, and it just makes it to where the note goes to the correct person. The other thing that we do as far as communication is we have what's called, I'm going to go back one, we have what's called a weekly communication report. This is not on here. This is just a sheet of paper that simply goes to each staff member at the end of the week for me to give to them to ask them, how was your week? What happened that you feel good about? What happened that you didn't feel good about? Is there anything I can do for you? Anything that you need? And do you need to have a meeting with me? What this does is once again, it increases that communication between the staff and myself. It allows them to get things off their shoulders. It prevents things from building up and becoming really bad. It also gives me insight to a lot that's going on so that I'm aware of what's happening, which can, like I said, it just helps to prevent things from blowing up and becoming something big. So those are 3 big communication points that I implemented or strengthened to start working and becoming something that we could all work together to increase the overall tone of the office, the flow of the office, everybody getting along together. You don't have as much of those upsets of staff getting upset at each other for having too much to do, someone not having enough to do. So this really helps with all the girls getting along. The next thing that we have that I'm going to show you, the third thing that I did was keeping the stats in the graphs. And this is one of those things that, I mean, everything I'm talking about today will increase that collection amount that your practice is being in, because when your staff is working with you, when everybody's working for you and making things happen, of course things are happening, and it's going to turn out to be really good. But this one has to do with the actual number, the actual collection. It's keeping the stats and graphs so that you can create productive staff meetings without knowing where you are and where you have to go. You can't really hold these staff meetings and give a plan for what's going on and what's needed unless you have something to show, something that shows you that. Our stats and our graphs are kept in an area of the practice where everybody can see it. It's not a secret. This is where we are. This is our goal, where we want to be, so everybody can see how we're doing. There are some doctors that I have spoke to that don't even really stat. They don't graph and they don't stat. They don't even really know where they are for themselves. So I don't know where you guys are, if you guys stat your numbers, but I find this a very useful tool, and I find this very important to implement when I do work with offices. To have this stat board that you see here, this makes it very easy to plug in all the important areas. Now, you may not use everything that we use. You may have some other stuff that you like to plug in, but this is just kind of gives you a demonstration of how we start this statting process. So at the end of the week, we look over this and we find out, okay, how much did we produce? So how much surgery did we actually produce in that week? What was our total collection that we collected for the week? If there were any refunds, then how many new patients we had seen for the week, if was anything canceled, the new patient referrals, how many new patients did came in, and where did they come from? And you see we have a lot of different areas there. So plug in numbers there. How much is projected for the next week? How much production, and how many new patients are on the schedule, and how many FAs that we have. And so looking at this, I can create a lot. We can find out what's going well. We can find out what needs help. We can find out what may be slipping and put in a plan to prevent that from happening. Very useful tool here. Eleanor, Dr. Sheldon's wife, she puts together our graphs at the end of the week by plugging in the numbers from this, and she creates these nice visual graphs that we show as we're doing our staff meetings, which we do once a week, and by plugging in these numbers and showing where we're at. These here, as you can see, we're on the top where you see A through N on there. It will be the date of these, which is a week apart. We do these, and you can compare as you look at this to see where you're going and how you're doing with this.
For those who are hung up on FA, that means financial arrangements. How many people are scheduled for a financial arrangement appointment in that week?
So what I do from that stat sheet is, of course, you will stat that. This one happens to be an emergency trend. We have a normal trend. Actually, I'm sorry, starting from the top, we have an affluence trend, which means you're going up, 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 you're doing fabulous. You have an emergency, or sorry, next, below that would be a normal trend, which things are going normal. Below that would be an emergency trend, which means things are not going in an up area. It's not very, very bad yet, but it can go towards bad. So you really want to pick things up when you're getting to an emergency trend, because you don't want them to fall deeper, which would be a danger trend. The danger trend is something where you're really working at revamping a lot because things just are not looking good. And with our staff meetings, I put a battle plan together that are in those conditions, and they're formatted with areas that will help us either improve or keep going the same way, do better, whatever it is. That I template that meeting according to the graph, the stats, to make sure that we're going to do better. The staff meetings that we have, like I said, we have those once a week. We use the stats to make those battle plans, and the great thing about those meetings that we do once a week, it's an hour once a week, we block off on Tuesdays for that, is it gives the staff a chance to be a part of what you're doing, to have a say in what we're doing, to give their points, to give their issues on that. So we all work together to come up with this nice plan to make it work. This is actually an example of the battle plan I use for an emergency. For an emergency, you want to promote, produce, because your numbers are down, and of course you want to bring them up. So promoting and producing will bring those numbers up. Things that you need to change. We need to change our operating basis because what we're doing is not working, so we need to change those. Economize. If you're in an emergency, you shouldn't be spending an excess amount of money. You should just be ordering the minimal, what you need to get through, so it goes on ways you can economize. Preparing to deliver. It's our plan. It's what we're going to do to pull ourselves out of this. And we have this, we read this at the staff meeting. We have initials next to them to say who's going to be doing it, who needs to help us get this going. And this stuff stays on this plan until we complete everything, and everybody gets a copy, and we work through this.
This is just how we implemented the Hubbard management system, which we learned ourselves, and it becomes a very practical way of getting the entire staff on the same page. So
the tools that we use for corrections are great tools on those. They do help with improving all the outs that are going on, identifying every condition in the office so that the time correction can be made. So since these stat sheets cover every area in the office that contributes to collection, it assures nothing is overlooked or forgotten. when I'm looking at that stat sheet, if we ignore that, for example, one of our key marketing actions is decreasing over a 3-week time, if we're focused on a high collection amount on that stat sheet and we're not looking at that number getting lower and lower and lower, what it's going to happen is that a week is going to come and we're going to take a dive in our collection. We're going to take a dive in that amount because we weren't paying attention to all those points in that stat sheet. So when you're able to plug all your numbers in that stat sheet and you're looking at those numbers from top to bottom, you're making sure that all areas of the practice are being taken care of. And if it's not, it goes on your battle plan for the week to make sure you can pick it back up again. So very important that your office manager is able to have those kinds of stat sheets, study those stat sheets, work with you on those stat sheets, and every single week come up with a battle plan for your staff to have a plan that is presented, that's executed, and everybody works together to make it happen. The next thing that's extremely important is your phone skills. This one is probably one of the most popular ones that we do, because for anybody that is depending on referrals from doctors, or for anyone that's spending some money on external marketing, you know that every time that phone rings, it's a patient that wants to come in and spend some money in your practice. So for phone skills not to be in your practice is a really bad idea on this. So with the phone skills, when we implement this into our practice and when we implement it into other people's practice, it's how many new patient calls actually get scheduled. Do you know how many new patients call your office a day inquiring about a new patient exam? Do you know how many of those are actually scheduling and how many of those don't? With this, like I said, with one missed new patient call, one person that calls inquiring that doesn't schedule, you're talking thousands and thousands of dollars that you're missing, because everybody who calls your practice wants treatment. They want to come in, they want to get help, and they want to spend some money to get their teeth healthier, looking better. They want it. So if your staff member is unable to schedule that, they should not be they shouldn't be answering the phone. There's no reason why you shouldn't schedule every call that comes in. When we do phone skills in our office, if you are not signed off, if you don't pass our phone structure that we do, you don't answer the phone. I'd rather somebody walk past a ringing phone than pick it up and not know how to handle the call. We have 4 front desk people that work. We have 2 that answer new patient calls and 2 that don't. Those people that answer new patient calls shouldn't be checking in and checking out patients. They should be concentrating on those phone calls to take time to guide those patients to schedule and come in for care. So there is a teachable, there's a learnable structure to handle new patient calls, and you have got to have this in. If not, you're going to lose a lot of business. You're going to lose a lot of money by not getting these patients to come in. Remember, when patients are calling your office, they are essentially interviewing you. They're seeing if they're going to feel comfortable, if they're going to be treated well, and if their money is going to be well invested by coming to your practice. So I don't know if you have ever called your office or had someone secretly call your office to find out how your staff does answer your phone. If you haven't, you should. We've had a ton of doctors say when that question's asked to them that their staff is wonderful on the phone, that they do a great job with this, and when we have called to do a secret call, it was a complete and utter bomb. So you should know how your girls are answering the phone. And also a good tool here would be for your staff to call around other offices as a new patient, because when they can hear other offices that are horrible, it makes them realize what they shouldn't be doing or what they can improve doing, and most of the time you're going to get that on there. So what I wanted to show you was first a pre-training call, and this happened to be an office where a doctor said that their front desk was wonderful. They knew how to answer the phone, and he trusted that they were getting these patients in. So here is an example of one of the calls, a pre-training call.
Yes, who am I speaking with?
Diana, can I help you?
Yes, I need to talk to someone regarding dental implants. Okay. Are you a patient or? I'm looking to establish myself with someone. Okay. Okay. Well, I can give you our website. Would that be helpful to you to look at that? Sure. And you kind of know what questions to ask because it's pretty involved, and obviously everybody has different concerns and whatever. I'm just thinking that might be a good place for you to start. Okay. Okay, so it's the website, Janet, and they would, give you all kinds of information about implants, about our doctors, about everything. So that way you can look at it, and feel free, of course, to call us back if you have any questions or want to make an appointment or anything. But I think it's a good place to start because you can kind of browse at your leisure and, see what we have to say there. And learn a little bit of how much is your new patient exam? It's $185, I believe. It includes a complete oral exam, and then the doctor sits down, talks to you, reviews everything. If you come with x-rays or records from the doctor. I don't have any records. I haven't been for a while. Okay. See, x-rays and all those kinds of things would be extra, but the actual exam, depends on what kind of x-rays you would need. Sometimes there's full mouth x-rays, sometimes there's panoramic, sometimes there's CT x-rays. So, frequently the doctor would meet with you, examine you. I've heard about the CT. How much is that? The CT is $415. Okay. We also file for insurance if you have insurance. The insurance. So I'm looking at minimum 600 plus whatever x-rays would be just for an initial exam. Oh, yeah. Would I be able to apply that towards any implant I have done? Probably not. It depends how, it's so hard to say over the phone. Okay. Because the doctors work with other doctors. Sometimes they have to collaborate with an orthodontist or an endodontist or whatever. So until they examine you and see what the situation is, it's very hard to give any kind of fees or estimate over the phone. Fine. I will go to the website then. Okay. Thank you. Very good. Bye-bye. Okay.
All right, so I can probably guess that this patient got off the phone and called another office to schedule a new patient exam. The front desk person here did not even attempt to get any data, didn't even attempt to get her onto the schedule. She's calling, she wants treatment, and no one even offers to give her an appointment. It's a total bomb of a call here. Now, this particular practice is actually a very impressive practice, a very impressive building, lots of impressive technology, a very skilled doctor, but that patient will never know that. They're wanting $600 for a new patient exam. They have no idea what this doctor offers, and I'm sure he's worth the $600, but that phone call would not scream that that office is worth the $600. You can have someone that's skilled on the phone that you could probably get patients to come in for $1,000 if you wanted to, but that person answering the phone needs to know how to sell your practice, sell you, and get them excited, get them wowed about coming in to see you, or you can't give that appointment away. It's just that training needs to be first and foremost in order to get every patient that's calling that has seen you on the internet, seen you in an advertisement, heard of you from another doctor, friend, patient, and get them onto the schedule. Here is an example of a post-training call.
Dr. Sheldon's office, this is Jennifer. How can I help you?
Yes, I was looking to speak with someone to find out some information on dental implants.
Okay, and may I ask who I'm speaking with?
Rebecca.
Okay, Rebecca, thank you so much for calling the office. What's your phone number, just in case we get disconnected?
321-254-9090.
9090. Okay, what's your questions about dental implants?
I've had a rough past as far as dealing with dentists, and it's really, really hard for me to trust them anymore. So, I've kind of stopped going for about probably 5 years or so, and I'm missing my 3 front teeth now. I just moved to the area, and I've already heard about Dr. Sheldon.
Well,
I can sympathize with you. I'm the scaredy cat of the office. I have had the same thing, bad experience with dentistry in the past, and just avoided it altogether. But I can reassure you, Dr. Sheldon has been placing dental implants for well over 30 years. He was probably one of the first in Central Florida to actually place dental implants, places more dental implants than any other doctors in Brevard County, along with all the technology he has to actually do your surgery on the computer before he even does it on you. So, yes, it is amazing to watch it, see it, experience it. You're going to love the staff. You're going to love the environment. You're going to love everything about the whole experience. We're going to show you that dentistry does not have to be scary. So let's do this. We are running a $79 special right now for our new patients. I have something on Wednesday, which is August 6th at 10:30. Does that work in your schedule?
Actually, that's my date off, so yes.
Perfect. Along with that appointment, the doctor is going to call you prior, just kind of review what's going on, your experiences, so he's better prepared for your appointment. Would you be available after 4:30 on Monday, which is August 4th?
The doctor himself is going to call me?
The doctor himself is going to call you.
Oh,
that'll give you just a little taste of the experience you're going to have when you do come into the office.
Absolutely.
Oh, perfect. Let me grab your mailing address because we like to send out the paperwork so you can fill it out at your convenience.
It's
260
Winding Way.
Winding Way.
And that's here in Melbourne.
Okay, and that's zip?
32901.
32901. Okay, great. So Dr. Sheldon will call you after 4:30 on Monday, August 4th, and then we'll see you here in the office on Wednesday, August 6th at 10:30. I look forward to meeting you.
Me too. Thank you.
Take care, Rebecca.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
So I would say here that that patient is pretty impressed by that phone call, and I would bet that she's not going to continue to try and other offices to see what they have to offer. She felt very comfortable. Jennifer guided her to get on the schedule. She was scared. She feels better. And not only that, we not only wowed her on the phone to get on the schedule, we're going to wow her with a doctor pre-call before the patients come in, and we're going to wow her with a packet of information from the office that she's going to learn a little bit more about what she has to expect when she comes in. So, you know, all this is about getting the patient to your office because you need to separate yourself from the other practices that are out there, and that's how you separate yourself. Once they come into our doors, we know they're going to accept the treatment because of the other modules and structures that we have in place here to go through a new patient appointment, to go through you know, the financial acceptance. We know once we get them here, we're going to help them, and we're going to find a plan for them, and they're going to do treatment. But the hard part is getting them here because it's between that phone call. It's how you're going to make them feel on that phone call to get them on the schedule, send them information, and do those other techniques that we do to get them to come into the door. And we can show you all that with our phone skills modules to go through that, which is a pretty detailed plan, but man, it's very impressive and it works. The next thing on here that we did was get patients to accept those larger cases. And with doing that, I mean, that can be kind of tricky. I mean, selling a 1 or 2 surface filling or selling a single unit extraction, you know, selling some root planing, okay, you know, people can do that, a few $1,000s, a few $100s, whatever it is. But the plans that we're selling here are, you know, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $60,000 cases. They're big, full implant cases. Now that's pretty close to selling a house. It's not something that they're going to walk in and lay the money on the table. So we can show you how to get your patients to accept these large plans, and not only accept them, but be excited to get started to be proud of that investment and brag about you, your office, your staff, which bring other patients to come in wanting the same exact thing. And this is really important to us because, you know, we're not a big an office that depends on referrals from other dentists. We refer on the patients that come in off the street. So a little bit more difficult there to land these patients, but doable when you have a trained staff that can handle this and do this. So with this, we train tone. We train, you know, that high tone, that happy to help you, that welcoming tone that can put anybody at ease and want to come in because they feel comfortable here. I hear that more than anything. Patients, they have gone other places, they've tried other places, and they just don't feel comfortable. They just don't feel comfortable. So that tone can really just bring them in because they want to have that feeling. We're all happy. We're happy to see them. We know them by name. We know their kids' names. We really build that relationship with them, and they love that. Educating with a purpose of acceptance, you know, with that goes through our structure that we teach on how to handle a new patient. And when you're educating with the purpose of acceptance, you're finding out in the room what it is that that patient wants, what it is that patient needs. And with that, we're taking pictures, we're putting it up on a very large screen TV right in front of them in the operatories. We're showing them what's really going on in their mouth. We're showing them what's really missing, what they really need. And I tell you, when you see your teeth on a 65-inch TV, it brings a whole new purpose to need. And these patients are just, wow. They're just, I've got to fix that. I cannot have that. That looks horrible. I need to fix it. So it really brings the purpose of acceptance on there. They understand that they need to fix it. They understand it's going to get worse. So the educating with that is very important. When we're in the room with the patient, we're not only getting a little bit of background from them, we're getting really what they need and want. We're getting kind of personal on why they're here, what they can't take anymore, what they want to change. And we're also getting an idea of their budget, because the last thing I want my doctor to do is to go in there and sell a big plan that may be very ideal and very needed for my patient, but all they have is $2,000 and they can't get a dime more. And you know, we get all this information for them because we don't want to waste their time. We don't want to waste the doctor's time to go in there and go over a plan that's not going to be obtainable. So we brief the doctor before going in with this information so he can get in the room and plan what it is that the patient's going to be able to accept and get out and go on with the rest of the day that he needs to. So it does help expedite things here. Also, as we had said on the new patient calls, we have the doctor call before they even come in. Huge wow factor there as well. But the doctor's able to get a lot of information during that call to, again, reduce chair time during that new patient exam. That's going to help, again, expedite the schedule, fit more in. Knowing the understanding level of the patient. So with this, you know, it's going to go through bringing awareness to the patient of not only what this patient wants, but what this patient needs. The patient may want an implant number 9, but the patient needs molars. This whole process of new patient education is to go over what to expect, what you really need, and what you're really going to benefit from. So we spend time with that. And again, relationship building. Our staff here will call our patients night, weekends. They're always available to build relationship with these patients and let them know that we are here for them. We all have our individual email addresses. We have these notifications on our phone. Patients ask a question on Saturday evening. It comes across my phone. Of course we want to answer it. And I tell you, that's impressive as well when I always get back, holy cow, it's Saturday night. What are you doing answering my email? And hey, you know what? We're here for you, and we want to help you get through this and get to this. So relationship building is very important. Like I said, these patients, they know us, we know them, we know it's a great feeling to have when we have that bond with our patients when they come in. And I'll tell you, this thing will bring patients to your door all by itself. These patients are a huge marketing avenue for you, because with all of this, they are impressed and they're going to talk. Patients, people, we love to talk. We love to tell stories, and you can have them either leave with a good story or a bad story, and we like them to leave, of course, with a good story. So what story is your patients telling? What are they telling their neighbors, their friends, their coworkers, their family? Because when they leave, they're calling somebody. So you want to give them a good story to share. You want them to tell somebody, hey, that guy knew what he was talking about. Man, those girls were good. There was a bunch of happy people in that practice. Man, I tell you, and you want them to share that story because they want their friends to be treated like that. You want them to call someone they know that had a bad dental experience, say, hey, you've got to go to this place. So, you know, with all this, that's what you're building. You're building a referral source as well. I will show you ways to get happier, dedicated staff. The truth is, staff crave structure. They welcome these implications. The staff is less chaotic and drama-free. They absolutely love it. You also must train your office manager to take stuff off your plate, because if you don't concentrate on what moves your practice up, it will not grow. Also, less off your plate means that you love doing what you do, that you enjoy being here so much more. When the doctor's happy, the staff is happy. So none of my systems mean more work. It actually means less work, less steps, less redo. It's less stress and blame, and increases teamwork. I will also work on ideas for staff appreciation, staff incentives, and we can go over even staff bonusing to create more of an ownership type of attitude with your staff. It does not have to be a huge bonus, but staff getting a little extra something, it can make a difference between them staying late, calling patients after hours, weekends, stopping at nothing until cases are closed. Our office closes at 5, and I guarantee you that if you call our office at 6, someone's going to answer our phone. But you try that with the guy across the street, and they stop answering the phone at 4:55. So things that you can do that can really step up the way that your staff talks about you, looks at you, works for you, and gets these cases in and helps these patients to walk them through acceptance can make a huge deal. But to get rid of those office dramas and have the staff willing to go the extra mile, to get that ownership factor in there, and get them working and doing things that you would never imagine doing. Big thing on that. The next thing is clearing the doctor's plate. Office managers, this is your main job here. Like I said, you know, the more that you're able to take off the plate of the doctor, the more he can work with treatment planning of the patient, which is going to increase your number. What I saw here was doctors trying to handle the planning of the treatment, the executing of the treatment, making sure the treatment goes well, making sure his training is going good, and also training the staff to work well to assist him, assure the patient success in their treatment, which is all good and great. However, these doctors are also taking part in hiring and firing and marketing and training, educating, sales, quality control, income, disbursements, equipment repair, dramas, upsets, on and on and on and on. His plate is full. He has his hand in every pot in fear that it either would not get done at all or not done correctly. The doctor must stay focused on treatment planning and patient care, and you can train your managers to do the rest. If I have my doctor that comes in and he's sitting at his desk and he's hearing some outpoints of the office, or he sees an outpoint in the office, and he goes into an opportunity to either do surgery or see a new patient, it's going to affect the treatment because he has heavy things weighing on him and he's worried and he's trying to figure out how to fix it. If you train your office manager to be your go-to person where something happens, something hurts, something's on his mind, an idea, a problem, whatever it is, that you learn to create that relationship with her, to go to her right away and unload it. Unload it, let her handle it, go in to see the patient and get your stuff done. And that relationship that you will learn to build will prevent you from that micromanaging evil that makes you want to continue to ask, is it done? Was it done? Who's doing it? You don't have to worry about that, because when I train your office manager to work for you like that, you don't even think about it after you have said it. She will report back to you. She will make sure these things are done. You will have a report on things that have been completed. And most of the time, a lot of the stuff doesn't even make it to you. It's being handled and being taken care of, and you don't even have to know it's going on. The doctor should be doing what a doctor should do. An office manager gets everything else done. She implements doctor's policies. She assures that it stays in, and so the doctor doesn't have to worry about doing any of that. She uses the buffer technique, which we use this word all the time because I tell you, it keeps this office running. As I said before, I am on the side of the staff and I am on the side of the doctor, and I protect both of them. I need happy staff and I need a happy doctor. So what the buffer technique is on a day that Dr. Sheldon may not be feeling well, he lets me know, he tells me what's wrong, he vents to me, he gets it all off his chest and all out, and then he goes on his day, and like I said, he's going to know that I'm going to take care of it, I'm going to handle it, and it's going to be done. Same thing with staff. They're having a bad day, something happens, something's going wrong, they're not feeling well, they're feeling bad about something, down about something. They come to me, and they know that they can talk to me, and I will be that buffer to go to him. Maybe there's something that he needs to know about what's going on. Maybe he needs to change something. Maybe something is out on that side. So I'm working with both sides to create that peace and get things equal in the practice. It's a great tool. It's a wonderful tool, and it makes everybody happy. It makes everything flow right because everybody knows I am there for them. Growth equals treatment planning and production. That doctors, that's for you. You should not be handling staff upsets. You should not be handling that mad, upset patient. You should not be handling anything in that office besides treatment planning and production, and that is it. And I can train your manager to do everything else there. So basically here, there's a lot that I talked about in this webinar. There's a lot that you can actually take and start working on right away. But I can help you structure this in. That's what I do. Whether you need a little help or you need an entire office makeover, I can get some or all this help in for you. I have worked with doctors and office managers only, or the entire staff, whichever you feel would be most beneficial. As Dr. Sheldon had mentioned at the meeting, you know, we do have some offers for everybody that did attend the symposium over the weekend, and we can go over those. Did you have anything else that you wanted to say there?
I think the main thing here is that, you know, we're in a very unique position. I think those of you who have subscribed and have read some of the things that I wrote, now you understand how I can write them. The fact is that our periodontal practice has become an independent practice, and Danielle mentioned that. The only way that we could have become an independent practice is if we put every system in place. Understand that in the future, the periodontal practice is going to change. The character of it is going to change. Whether it's going to change in the direction we're in or another direction, I think that's open for discussion. And certainly in the symposium, you heard a number of different opinions on where it's going, a number of different strategies to get there. But everybody agrees that it's not going to be the way it is. In the future, we're going to be competing with corporate dentistry, and so as a cottage industry, it was fine. We had practices that did very well, and up through 2007, 2008, you know, we could pretty much do things the way we wanted to, and everything would be okay. But that's changed. Corporate dentistry has come in, and one thing that corporate dentistry does in order to be able to take advantage of the structure that's already there, meaning the doctor and the staff, is to go in and train that doctor and staff and puts in their own office management system so that the office makes money. Well, if we want to remain independent, if we want to become part of, if we want to, I'll just say it again, if we want to remain independent, whether we're working with referral sources and we choose to do it that way or go in the direction of non-referral as we have, however you do it, systems are going to have to be streamlined. It's no longer going to be, well, let's see how it goes today. We actually have to put in structure. We have to put in structure and make sure that we have a happy doctor and a happy staff at the same time. Danielle's been in the unique position of being a periodontal surgical assistant, and now for many years now an office manager, and has implemented that in a periodontal office. So the things that we find that we need as periodontists are things that Danielle has already done. They're things that, by the way, they're things that we have done that haven't worked. And those aren't the things that we teach. The things that have worked are the things that we've done and that we've tested before they ever come out to you, and that's what Danielle is going to be able to introduce to you.
All right, so we have